Today on Traveling Days, we're going to take you to every pier on the Seattle Waterfront.
The Seattle Waterfront is one of the most popular attractions in downtown Seattle.
Let's go.
From the south end of Pioneer Square to the north end of Sculpture Park, the waterfront area spans 18 city blocks.
Our tour of Seattle's waterfronts begins at Pier 48.
Wait, why not Pier 1?
Up until the 1940s, every railroad and steamboat company called the piers whatever they wanted to. Then during World War II, the Navy, which already owned a Pier 36 and a Pier 90, commandeered all the piers in the city and then renumbered them to fit within those two piers. And that is the system that we still use today. In the 1960s, the container port to the south was built. Since then, many piers between 36 and 38 have been demolished or closed, and most commercial maritime traffic now goes to those terminals instead of to these piers. That leaves the waterfront district open for retail, restaurants, and recreation.
Thanks for the history lesson. Now, what's so cool about Pier 48?
Nirvana, Cypress Hill, and the Breeders once performed a concert on Pier 48 for MTV. Doesn't look like there's much going on there now. Pier 48 is also where a Cold War era submarine was anchored as a floating museum until it sailed down to San Diego in 2005.
This pergola is all that's left of Pier 49. It's where giant ships would have boats ferry passengers in to actually land in Seattle. And it's on the National Register of Historic Places. Today it's home to a Molly Moon's ice cream shop. In the evening on hot summer days, there's always a long line here to get their delicious seasonal ice cream. Between Pier 49 and 50 is Habitat Beach, an area created not only to satisfy the need to access the water in the waterfront area, but also to give more habitat for tasty salmon.
Piers 50 and 52 are owned by the Washington State Ferry System. It's the largest ferry system in the United States and the second largest in the world after British Columbia. At Pier 50, pedestrians can ride the King County Water Taxi to Vashon Island in West Seattle, or the Kitsap Transit Fast Ferry to Kingston, Bremerton, or Southport. And at Pier 52, drivers and pedestrians can get a ride to Bremerton and Bainbridge Island.
Pier 53 is home to Seattle Fire Department Station number 5, which is also home of Seattle Fire Department's fire boat team. This was very important when the piers, the road next to the piers, and all the boats were made out of wood.
Pier 54 is a place where you can find restaurants and gift shops, and it's best known for Ivar's Acres of Clams. Ivar named his restaurant after a line from a song about an old prospector who couldn't find any gold in the Yukon, and so he came back down south to settle in the Puget Sound area. Surrounded by acres of clams, surrounded by acres of clams. He first opened a one-room aquarium in this corner of the pier, accompanied with a fish and chip stand.
I bet they don't serve seafood at the modern Seattle Aquarium.
Then in 1945, he moved his restaurant to this corner of the pier, but he ended up owning the whole pier eventually anyway. Ivar was legendary for his pranks. For instance, he would put underwater billboards out so that divers would see advertisements for his restaurant, or scattering coupons for clam chowder over the bay for anybody who would fish them out. He also famously encouraged his patrons to feed French fries to the seagulls.
Ivar's on the waterfront really has 2 restaurants. One is table service, and the other is counter service.
This restaurant went on to become the flagship of a whole chain of seafood restaurants named for Ivar. Oh, this was apparently Ivar's motto, keep calm.
That's not what it says. Ye Olde Curiosity Shop is one of the oldest gift shops at the waterfront, and it's more than a gift shop. It contains many museum items and things that you might find at a Ripley's, believe it or not. If you're a little squeamish, you might want to skip this part.
And here we have some of the most curious curiosities in Ye Olde Curiosity Shop. Over here we have a cedar bark hat that was presumably worn by Chief Seattle. We also have Sylvester the Mummy, who was preserved in 14 pounds of arsenic, Sylvia the Mummy, and various other shrunken heads and torsos from around the world.
This is Pier 55. It has Seattle Shirt Company and Starbucks. Pier 55-56 is home to Argosy cruises. They have a variety of cruises that go around Puget Sound, through the locks, and other areas. They are part of Seattle City Pass, one of the things you can choose to do at a discounted rate by bundling your attractions. Here at Pier 56, we have Elliot's Oyster House, the Wing Dome, and Seattle Shop, a gift shop that's all about Seattle.
In between Pier 56 and 57, we have Sailing Seattle and Salish Sea Tours. With Sailing Seattle, you can sail the Sound on 70-foot ocean racing yachts. No sailing experience required.
At Salish Sea Tours, you can get a stadium seating ride to see historical and modern views of Seattle that you can only get from the bay. The Alaska Way Viaduct was 2 stories tall and had an exit running through here, eliminating the usefulness of this area. When it was torn down after the 2019 construction of the underground 99 tunnel that replaced it, this area was turned into a useful pedestrian-only area called Harbor Steps.
We now come to Pier 57, which is probably the most recognizable and distinctive pier in the whole waterfront. This pier is also known as Miner's Landing, and inside you'll find a variety of restaurants and other attractions. You might notice there's a distinctively Western aesthetic about this place. Well, that's because in 1897, the SS Portland came to the port of Seattle from Alaska with a ton of gold, which kicked off the gold rush. And Seattle spent the next few years ferrying prospectors to and from Seattle. The attraction behind me is called Wings Over Washington, and it's said to be very similar to Disney's Soarin', where you're put into a simulated flight experience across the landscapes of Washington. In fact, it's said by those who've done it to be even better than Soarin'. We'll have to test that theory another day. Pier 57 is also home to the Seattle Great Wheel. At 174 feet tall, it's possibly the tallest on the West Coast. Up to 6 visitors at a time can sit in one of 42 enclosed climate-controlled gondolas and ride for 12 to 20 minutes.
This playground just opened in June of 2025, making it the newest addition to the Seattle Waterfront. In 2020, they were demolishing part of this pier for its reconstruction, and this fountain fell into the Sound. They were able to pull it back up, and it's got new plumbing, but it's essentially the same fountain.
Piers 59 and 60 are home to the Seattle Aquarium since 1977. In this main building, you learn about local aquatic wildlife, Then in 2024, the city opened this additional building, which focuses instead on tropical habitats. The aquarium is a subject that deserves its own video. Subscribe below so you won't miss that video when it comes. This whole complex is part of the aquarium's new Oceans Pavilion, and it includes elevated walkways to Pike Place Market. The newly constructed Overlook walk connects Pike Place Market with the waterfront of the aquarium, with stairs, elevators, and amazing views. There is no Pier 61 today. Piers 59, 60, and 61 were purchased for the construction of the Seattle Aquarium, and Piers 60 and 61 were demolished to make room.
Pier 62 and 63 were combined to create an outdoor space. They used to hold concerts here until the crowds became too large for the piers to support. They've since been redesigned and are an open space for the public use every day. They've got checkers and chess, they've got Lots of beautiful orange benches for people to sit on and enjoy sunny days like this one.
There's not much between Pier 62 and Pier 66, the Bell Street Pier or the Bell Harbor Complex. Pier 66 is the location of the Bell Harbor Marina, also the Bell Harbor International Conference Center, Anthony's, Bell Street Diner, and Seattle Tall Ships, where you can charter a sailing vessel around this Puget Sound. At 80 feet tall, the Bay Lady is the tallest public sailing vessel in Seattle.
If you're taking an Alaska cruise out of Seattle, it's a decent chance you'll board here.
From here, you can access Belltown via this pedestrian bridge.
The Edgewater is Seattle's only waterfront hotel. It's a luxury resort that's paid host to many famous people, including the Beatles, who famously fished out their window when no other hotels in Seattle would host them.
Pier 68 was demolished to make room for Edgewater Hotel on Pier 67. Pier 69 is the headquarters of the Port of Seattle and also Clipper Navigation, a high-speed foot ferry that goes to Victoria, BC and the San Juan Islands.
We finally made it to the end. Pier 70 is the last pier on the main midsection of the Seattle Waterfront. It's home to an appropriately named Pub 70, as well as Aqua by El Gaucho. Aqua is one of our favorite restaurants. We were once sitting inside and saw a pod of killer whales go by.
Well, this is the end of the waterfront proper. If you were to continue in this direction, you'll go through the Olympic Sculpture Park. Further on is Pier 86, the grain terminal, and beyond that is the cruise terminals at Piers 90 and 91.
If you made it this far, you probably got some value out of this video. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this.
And I think of my happy condition, surrounded by acres of clams.
But the people who showed up became too big for the waterfront encompasses 18 city blocks.
Always went the wrong way.
Surrounded by acres of clams. We can put out a tip jar. And no ship what has black sails and something couldn't possibly be. The waterfront area encompasses 18 city blocks.
See if you can.
Station number 5 is home to Seattle's fireboat team.
People are just doing funny things behind you. What?
You checking to make sure there's no seagull poop on that chair?
Uh-huh.
Surrounded by acres of clams.
You're awful.
I bet they don't serve seafood at the modern Seattle Aquarium. Acres of clams. Surrounded by acres of clams. And acres of clams.
Kingston, Bremerton, and South Wharf. Almost. Kingston, Bremerton, and South Wharf. South Wharf. Kingsworth, Kingston.
Acres of clams. Surrounded by acres of clams. Pier 54, 55. It's very noisy right now. This is Salish Sea Tours. It's the newest. Can't wait for him to stop talking. Yes, I know you want me to be more excited.
And do it over.
What?
Demolish Pier 60 and 61. Although it appears Pier 60 was partially rebuilt.
What?
The sooner you say it, the sooner we can go.
Oh. Nice.
Boy, we're bad at this.
Sculpture Park deserves its own video, so we'll do that later. Subscribe so you don't miss that one.